At 17 years old, she boarded a plane with $300, a one-way ticket to Miami, and no idea how to say hello in English. Back home in Colombia, her city was collapsing under the weight of violence. Friends were disappearing, schools felt like war zones, but she carried something no bullet could destroy. A dream so big, it would one day reach Mars. This is the true story of Diana Trujillo, the Colombian woman who didn't just survive. She helped land a rover on another planet. Diana was born in Cali, Colombia, in the early 1980s, a city once known for salsa and later for blood. By the time she was 10, the drug cartels had turned her neighborhood into a battlefield. Gunfire was background noise. Funerals became routine. She saw classmates vanish. Some recruited, others killed. Her mother, a single parent, worked 3 jobs just to keep food on the table. But she always told Diana, "You were not born to be a victim. You were born to lead." At 16, Diana made a decision. "I don't want to die before I've even lived." With her mother's blessing and every peso they could scrape together, she bought a ticket to the U.S. She didn't know it yet, but she was about to trade fear for freedom and silence for purpose. When Diana landed in Miami, she spoke no English. She had no relatives, no safety net. Her first job? Cleaning hotel bathrooms for $6 an hour. She lived in a tiny apartment with 3 other immigrants, sharing one bed in shifts. But every night, after her shift, she did something extraordinary. She opened an English textbook and studied until 3 a.m. Within a year, she passed her language exams. She enrolled at Miami-Dade College, not because she thought she'd succeed, but because she refused to fail. She worked as a waitress, a nanny, and a retail clerk, all while majoring in engineering. Professors doubted her. Classmates ignored her. But Diana remembered her mother's words. "Your accent is not your limit. It's your story." And in 2004, she earned a full scholarship to the University of Florida to study aerospace engineering. In 2007, Diana walked into NASA's Jet Propulsion Laboratory, not as a visitor, but as an engineer. She was one of the few Latinas in the room. Some called her the Colombian cleaner. She let her work speak for her. For 14 years, she climbed the ranks, designing robotic arms, testing landing systems, mentoring young engineers. Then came 2021. NASA's most ambitious mission yet, land the Perseverance Rover on Mars. Diana was named lead systems engineer for the entry, descent, and landing team, the group responsible for the infamous 7 minutes of terror. On February 18, 2021, the world held its breath. As data streamed in from 127 million miles away, Diana's voice echoed through mission control. Touchdown confirmed. Perseverance is safely on the surface of Mars. In that moment, a girl who once hid from gunfire in Cali had just helped touch another world. Today, Diana Trujillo isn't just a NASA engineer. She's a symbol. She founded Space Without Borders, a nonprofit that brings STEM education to girls in Latin America. She's told the UN, talent is universal. Opportunity is not. We must change that. And when little girls in Bogota, Medellin, or Caracas ask her, "Can I really go to space?" she smiles and says, "I didn't just go to space. I came from a place where dreams were buried, and I dug mine up with my own hands." If you're watching this and feel like your past defines you, remember Diana. Remember that $300, no English, and a broken city were not the end of her story. They were the beginning. Your pain, your accent, your zip code, your past, none of it gets to write your future. You do. Hit like, subscribe, and share it with someone who needs to hear it. Thanks for watching. See you next time.